Hey guys, my name's Adam, your friendly Sasquatch, and today we're doing a quick video overview of the Yeti Hopper Flip 12. This is a soft side cooler, which is going to be a great addition to your camping or road trip needs. As we go through this video review, I'm going to be referencing some of the accessories and ice packs that you can get that are specifically made for this cooler. I will make sure I provide links for everything I discuss in this video in the description below. There is a Yeti Hopper 8 and there's also a Yeti Hopper 18. I personally felt the Yeti 12 here was just the right size for my personal use case scenario, which is going to be road tripping for 2 people. However, if it's just you and you're just doing day trips, you may want to consider the smaller Yeti 8. And if you have a couple people in your group or you're road tripping for multiple days at a time, a Yeti 18, which is the same footprint as this Yeti 12, but a little bit taller, might be a better fit for you. Okay, so when you order a Yeti cooler, the first thing you're gonna get is the nice shoulder strap. It has a nice padding on the inside here and just feels like a high quality, durable shoulder strap. It is a detachable shoulder strap, so it attaches and it unclips just like a duffel bag strap or something like that. And I think this is going to be a great comfortable strap if you have this cooler fully loaded up and you're going out for a day on the beach or you are kind of walking into a campsite or something like that. This cooler isn't really intended for hiking or something like that, but if you have this thing loaded up, it might weigh 20 pounds or so. So it is nice to have a shoulder strap if you have to walk a little ways. Inside you also find an envelope with the user's manual and warranty cards, as well as a Yeti sticker so you can proudly show off that you're a Yeti owner. And finally, you have this thing that kind of looks like chapstick, which is the zipper lube. And we'll talk about that a little bit later, but it's to help make sure that your zipper stays moving freely and doesn't get damaged with use. So that's everything that comes with the cooler when you order one. Let's go ahead and take a look at the size and weight of the cooler itself. The cooler is 14.7 inches wide, 10.3 inches deep, and 12 inches tall, which is a good size cooler. This will fit behind the passenger seat in your car. It will sit comfortably on the passenger seat of the car. You can easily fit this in the trunk. It's not so tall that the trunk lid's gonna hit it. It really fits well into a lot of spaces. I've run into some coolers in the past where they're just a little too big, where they just don't really fit into those tight spaces in your vehicle or on your boat, stuff like that. The cooler is also a nice size that can be tied down to things like kayaks, motorcycles, stuff like that. You'll see you have these D-rings on the side. And all you have to do is just strap it down with bungees or some other strap that you may have with your kayak or motorcycle, and the cooler will stay securely in place. Now the cooler when empty weighs 3 pounds, which is pretty light. Once you get this thing loaded up with ice and food and stuff like that, it might weigh well over 20 pounds. So again, like I said earlier, this isn't really a hiking cooler. This is really intended for road trips, camping, throwing on the back of your kayak or motorcycle, something like that, where you have something else carrying the cooler a long distance for you, and you have your food and beverage ready to go when you get to your destination. I personally like to keep this cooler in the footwell on the front passenger side of the vehicle. That way, if I need to reach over and grab something, it's right there ready for easy access. Okay, so that's the size and weight of the exterior of the Yeti Flip 12. Let's go ahead and take a look at the inside, because after all, that's what you're buying a cooler for, to store things for you. The zipper here is a hydrolock zipper. It's completely waterproof, which helps keep seawater out if you're kayaking, or ice water is inside the cooler from spilling out in your vehicle or something like that when you're driving around. So I really do like the waterproof zipper. There's nothing worse than opening your cooler and realizing all your food is wet with lake water, or getting home and realizing the back of your car has been flooded by all the melted ice. The zipper is a little bit tough to open, but it's not too bad. And it does have this nice pull tab, so you can really just hook your fingers on that zipper hook and just pull it right around. So the zipper I really like, works good, and then the lid pops right open. So I really like the zipper design. The lid pops completely open for easy access inside the cooler. Let's go ahead and take a look at the size of the interior, and then we'll take a look at how the ice packs will fit into this particular cooler. The interior of this cooler is 11.4 inches wide, 8.5 inches across, and 9.8 inches deep, which is a nice deep cooler that's going to hold a lot of ice, drinks, and other beverages. Yeti advertises that this cooler can hold 24 regular sized cans with no ice, or 16 pounds of ice, which is quite a bit of ice. 16 pounds of ice should last you 48 hours as long as you're not in an overly hot climate or leaving the cooler hang open. Before we move on to the other features of this particular cooler, let's go ahead and talk about the ice situation. Because after all, without ice, the cooler isn't going to be of much use to you. So I picked up a couple blocks of ice from Yeti. These are called Yeti Ice. The first is the large 4-pound Yeti block, and then I picked up 2 of the medium-sized 2-pound Yeti blocks. And the reason I bought these is because they're specifically made to fit in this cooler. They don't take up a ton of space, and they also keep my food from getting soaked in water as the ice melts. The water will stay contained within these plastic blocks, keeping my cooler clean and my food dry. So opening up the cooler, The large block just fits perfectly in the bottom. As you can see, that large block of ice is perfectly sized to fit into the bottom of this particular cooler. Now what I like to do with these smaller blocks is I put my food and everything I want in here first, and then I fit the smaller blocks right on top of the food. And as you can see, these medium-sized blocks will take up half of a layer of the cooler, which effectively puts a lid on top of your food. So in the very bottom here, we have the large block of ice as kind of the floor, and then these two medium blocks make a nice lid, making sure that your food is sandwiched in a nice layer of cold on both the top and the bottom. So this is a lot of ice. The large block is 4 pounds, and the two smaller blocks are 2 pounds each. Most people, I think, the 8 pounds of ice will keep this cooler relatively cold for 48 hours. Now, if you're in really hot climates or you know you're gonna be out for longer than 48 hours, you can extend the life of these blocks by adding additional ice. Now, you don't have to buy these Yeti Ice Blocks to use this cooler. I personally just like them because they keep everything nice and clean and dry. You don't have a bunch of water running around your cooler when they melt. And they're reusable, so you don't have to keep going out and buying bags of ice. So in the end, it will save you money to have a couple of these blocks of ice in your freezer. Putting the blocks of ice in here to keep my cooler nice and cold. Let's go ahead and zip up this cooler and take a look at the other features it has. The first feature that this cooler has that a lot of people really like is the waterproof zipper. We talked about briefly earlier when we looked at the zipper lube, but let's go ahead and talk about it a little bit more in depth. So the biggest thing is this is what they are calling the hydro lock zipper, making this cooler completely waterproof. So if you have this on a sea kayak and you have a big wave take you over it, your lunch isn't going to be drowned in seawater. On the flip side of that, if you have a bunch of ice in here and it melts and you're driving home and the cooler tips over, you're not going to have a bunch of water all over your car. This cooler is completely waterproof. So that's pretty cool. As we talked about earlier, you do get a tube of the zipper lube. It kind of looks like chapstick to me, but you know, they call it zipper lube. I suppose if you didn't have this, you could probably use chapstick. But the idea is to use this kind of around the corners or wherever you feel the zipper sticking. As you use this cooler, the zipper may become worn in, or you might get gunk in the seam, and it may occasionally need to be lubricated. Out of the box, it seems like it works pretty well, but they have included just in case you need to add a little lube periodically. Other than that, it's just like any other zipper. It has a nice pull tab on it. It's really easy to hook with your fingers and just give it a tug, and everything works as it should. On the inside of this cooler, we have what they're calling cold cell foam. It's basically a rubber foam that's waterproof and mildew resistant. So the benefits of this is if your ice melts in here, it's not going to soak into this foam. It's a closed cell rubber-based foam, and it's very easy to wash. Just use a little soapy water and wipe it out, and the cooler will be good to go for its next use. When you do wash your cooler, make sure you leave it open for a little bit so it can completely dry out, just to prevent any mildew. These materials are mildew resistant, but just like anything, if you abuse them, you could have some problems. So what I do is I just wash out my cooler with warm soapy water, and then I let it sit out overnight, and then I put it into storage. But yeah, it is nice. Unlike some coolers I've had in the past where this material isn't waterproof, the ice as it melts will kind of leak into the foam inside, and then the cooler gets really heavy and kind of soggy and gets this funky smell. So very nice closed cell rubber foam on the inside of this cooler. I really like it. On the outside is this dry hide material. They say it's puncture resistant, UV resistant, and mildew and stain resistant. So pretty much resistant to everything, and that's great. And to me, it kind of reminds me of a Cordura or the heavier duty material you might find on kind of a military style backpack. And in my experience, this thing has not had any issues. I have a few friends that have had these coolers for a couple years, and I haven't seen any fading or anything like that. So the material really does hold up in true Yeti fashion. While we're looking at the outside, we also have 4 handles. We have 2 on the side, 1 on the top, and then 1 on the very back here. And that's great for if you're trying to pull it out of a car or lift it out of a seat. A lot of good carrying options. It doesn't take up too much space. The handles fold over. They're not the hard, rigid handles. They, can be squeezed down. The nice thing of a soft cooler is you can kind of, squeeze it into different spaces as needed. So really like the carrying options with this particular cooler. While we're talking about the handles and stuff, something that a lot of people don't notice is on the very back of this cooler, underneath the handle, there's a Yeti logo. And this Yeti logo is actually made of Velcro. And what's cool about that is if you're in the military or police force or anything like that, you likely have some of these 2 by 3 inch name tag style Velcro patches. Might have the insignia of your division, your name, or maybe just your brand logo or something like that. And what's cool is you can it's perfectly sized just to stick right over that Yeti logo. And that's what it's there for. If you have a bunch of these coolers out there in the field, you can put your name on there. And when you're done, just tear the tag right off and you can put your next one on. So, and again, that's what I really like about Yeti. They pay attention to the little details to make sure that their users have the best experience possible. Let's go ahead and talk about the hitch points on the front here. That's the kind of webbing on both sides of the front and the back of the cooler. And this is where you can attach accessories. And Yeti does sell a few accessories. If you don't want to buy directly from Yeti, you can also use MOLLE compatible items to tie into these hitch points. Some of the things that Yeti sells for these hitch points is they have bottle openers, wine bottle openers, stuff like that. You can also just use a carabiner like this one here to make an attach point on your Yeti cooler. That's super easy to attach things like your keys and things like that when you're not using them. So again, a lot of versatility with this cooler. I really like how it's set up with the attach points on the side, the detachable shoulder straps, the 4 handles, the 2 on the side, 1 on top, and then 1 on the back. Nice addition of being able to put your own name tag on the cooler itself. Just a nice little touch. Just a very well thought out design. I like how the ice packs fit in snugly. They don't bounce around or anything like that. Everything just feels like it's well thought out and intentionally made on this cooler. It fits really well into your car. It's just, again, everything just really feels like it's well thought out and intentionally made. They didn't just slap this thing together. They really looked at who's going to be using this cooler, how it's going to be used, and made sure that you had the best experience possible when using their product. Again, this is the Yeti Flip 12. They also make a Flip 8, which is great for, I think, 1 person, 24 hours, like lunch and dinner type bag. And they make a Flip 18, which is great for, I think, 2 people up to 48 hours. It holds a little more ice, you can get more drinks and food in there. And I think 2 people or 4 people for a day bag is a great size for the Yeti 18. So I would highly recommend this product if you're looking for a soft-sided, waterproof cooler that can take the abuse. The Yeti Hopper Flip 12 is going to be a great buy. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video review. If you did, hit that like button below. It helps the channel out a lot. And don't forget to hit the subscribe and bell icon so you're the first to be notified when I release new videos just like this one. Cheers.